provide my information, please call my office, if you wanna have further dialogue. I think it's important. We're gonna go forward with something anyways. But I would like the input, legitimate input, okay? Clearly, we're gonna have, more extensive dialogues with WestRock. They are proactive on this issue. We appreciate that, and I think you can see we've developed a good cooperative relationship that actually leaps to just a general labor management relationship generally by discussing these issues to try to make it a win-win for both sides.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, let's keep it here.
Ryan, I'd like to say this real quickly. I walked into a union shop and went to work in 1971. Jimmy's one of those young kids that came in 77 and doesn't want to go to work.
That's why we went for the union.
Yeah.
The only thing that I do want to point out though is that we're trying to put the emphasis on the union, or on management, but we also have to stress to the individual employee, they have to take some type of ownership. They have to be willing to step forward. You cannot help somebody that's not willing to help themselves.
That's right.
Do you guys see, you know, coming from a non-union environment, we're from Excellus, Dave and I, they give us 8 hours of volunteer time to use every year. We have various employee network groups. One of them is a veteran network group. I'm a member of it. It's made up of, you know, veterans and non-veterans, combat veterans. And it serves two purposes. It allows us to use our volunteer time, and, you know, we'll do events, we'll do food kitchens, things for homeless veterans. We'll make packs for the active duty guys to send over, collect items and stuff for that, but it's also a resource for the active veterans or the combat veterans to get help through that resource group, where they can come talk to, you know, anybody on that veterans committee, and we can try to help them. And I'm a manager, I can try to help them get where they need to if someone were to come to me. You know, I have a close family member that has PTSD and is, you know, pretty much alienated himself from the whole family, and so I can see what it's, you know, what it's done, the effects of that. But do you see from other managers or other non-union shops here, are other employers encouraging this, offering volunteer time off and offering employee network groups? Because it's just totally voluntary, you know, it doesn't, other than the 8 hours of VTO time, it's something we're doing as employees to help each other.
I reached out to the chamber and I asked them, can you tell me of any employers that participate that have anything done, union or non-union, relative to veterans? I think I asked them their social security number or their bank account. I don't know that whether that means it doesn't exist, it exists, but they don't want us to know. I have no idea.
Yeah,
But in fairness, we also contacted, Cary contacted the AFL-CIO. In quite fairness, a bunch of lip service with the AFL-CIO as well.
Let me get that one, and not trying to throw stones here, but there is I'm sorry, Leanne. Go ahead.
And I'm sorry, I do have to leave. Listening to this has been very good, but having, you know, experience on active duty during Vietnam Era and during Desert Storm and reserves, there's two things you mentioned. My first thought is that I think there is a difference if somebody comes back from combat on active duty because they come home to the military family, and they're there usually on the base, and you have all of that support. When you're in the reserves, you come back to civilian life, and there is not that network. And I've lived on post, and I've been in reserves, obviously, where I'm in my regular house. The other thing is that you talked about the union management and the individual. I think there's one person that's very desperately missing in this and needed is the military. I think they need to step up to the plate and also be part of this whole discussion, because especially the reservists, you come back from active duty and you're discharged, period. You know, know, when I had soldiers that came back from active duty, they were in the hospital and we stayed there until we thought they were ready to go home. They may needed additional care and we transferred them to I'm a nurse, I'm sorry, I was an Army nurse. And that disturbs me, you know, and I hear this and you're right. I think you mentioned the Vietnam vets, sometimes it was very traumatic, it was 30, 40 years later. Actually, with a lot of the nurses that were in Vietnam, it was maybe 5 or 10 years later when they were having stillbirths, reproductive problems because of their contact with the Agent Orange. So we need to look at the combat soldier, we need to look at all the soldiers, but we also I think there's a distinction between a reservist and an active duty. I believe we are having so many more tours. During Vietnam, you did one, a 12-month tour. Today, our reservists who are not really part of the military family on a post or base, and they're doing 2 or 3 tours. We're going to have serious problems for a long time to come, and I really am concerned about that. So and I have to go on to another event. I'm so sorry.
Thank
But
you for
thank you.
coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to that point, and admittedly, I'm not up to speed on all of the federal programs, that are in place and the funding that's provided for that, but I would assume that, it would really be like a minuscule percentage of the DoD budget that, might be put toward these types of programs, which would be, ultimately incredibly money, right? We're talking about the budget, for the military, which you mentioned the military playing a role in this process. I think that's a legit.
Just from the statewide perspective, I think that the Veterans Affairs budget is probably one of the smallest line items in the whole $150 billion budget, if not one of the smallest. And to be fair, that's because a lot of money is allocated to like Office of Temporary Disability Services, or maybe different types of Department of Health, where some of them have programs related to services that may help veterans, but for a veteran service proper, budgetary line, if you're talking about getting $500,000 for the Defenders Association, you're talking about $200,000 for helmets to hard hats, $200,000 and $150 billion. I'm telling you, that's like nickels and dimes, and we would all be happy to have $200,000, but we're talking about for an employment program for veterans, helmets to hard hats, that's like no money.
Yeah.
And trying on the federal level, I'm not by no way gonna, this wasn't addressed earlier from the AFL-CIO, and I'll use that as a caveat to get into the federal government. The AFL-CIO does have, there's a Union Veterans Council, and I called the individual, very nice individual, he's a great, little Christian, combat veteran, uniforms. What it was, I was very disappointed in the sense that it was a lip service. I will not, in my personal, I will not use this as a platform for some bullshit political agenda. That's not what my view is on this at all,
Right.
or the Steelworkers view. And that being said, leads me into the federal government, is that unfortunately, our vets suffer from individual political agendas every day. Because in the House and in the Senate, there's been so many bills and laws to veterans that get voted down because of big business, lobby, and fat pockets. And it's sad. I mean, when you've seen legislation that could potentially help individuals with PTSD, and that it's voted down because, some Joe Schmo back in Texas, Texas too, is lining up his pockets. And you see that, and I don't have it with me, but I've demonstrated at our last meeting for the education conference, back, 3 to 4 years ago. I think it was, specifically 2012, there was 13 pieces of legislation that should have been passed for law that got voted down. And I'm not picking on nobody's political party, I'm just saying that's how it gets rolled over, and then here we are having conversations like this.
You can pick on political parties.
No,
it's an important point.
To go to your point
I
about.
don't mean you at all.
I'm the state representative.
To go to your point about the private business, I don't speak for SU, but being part of the community, we do have, monthly lunches for employees that are veterans, students that are veterans, and that type of thing to build community. So that could be speakers from the VA speaking about mental health issues, or it could be something like RWB, it's red, white, and blue, and talking about get fitness and just getting out there and helping your community. I think those types of things build community and then kind of bring to light issues that someone may be in denial about, not really thinking about how it affects maybe their job or the education they're getting at SU. So we've been trying to do stuff like that, but also identifying veterans on campus has been tough. If they don't self-identify, if they don't get VA benefits to pay for their education, they're not identified properly. And so that's been a struggle for us, and I know for a lot of employers, to get people to self-identify.
Right, and ultimately, I mean, that's the individual's choice, right? I mean, some vets may not need or be interested in special attention and consideration, which absolutely doesn't mean it shouldn't be provided. But, I mean, Keith, do you have any experience or comments on that? In other words, maybe someone's doing fine and, what's the big deal? And just leave me alone and let me sort of go about my life.
Going through airports and everything else, when you have the USO and you have those other ones, I will tell you, I felt so uncomfortable when somebody come up and say thank you. I'm grateful for that, but to be honest with you, I want to be the gray man in the corner, and I want to be alone. I will tell you, most of the guys at my plant know that I was in the service. I was in the service for 23 years, but y'all know more now about what I've done than what they do. I don't advertise that. That's, I would probably say, a large portion of people who have served don't want the gratitude. They did what they felt was right. I get concerned when somebody's looking for more, because then I start digging and normally there's a problem. So most people in the service will tell you, or have served, will tell you that they don't want gratitude. They just want a fair shake. So on that aspect of it, it's just, they don't advertise it unless you really specifically go out and talk to people. The only reason I know who's been served in service at my facility is because I know my people. I don't focus solely on what's happening just at work. I ask them how their kids are doing. Hey, where were you before? What did you do before? What is your background? Just that open, so I can get a connection with them, because one, I do care about people's well-beings, and two, if people know that you're gonna care about you, they're gonna do more for you. That has been my experience, and it's worked for me, and it's what I use. It has come back and bitten me a few times, but I'm happy with the way that I've done it, because I can sleep at night knowing that I'm doing the right things. So, just gotta know people.
When you say recognition, I agree with you 100% on the recognition, but don't you feel that it's a generational thing too? I mean, for the individuals in the room, we talked about this yesterday at our office meeting. World War I, World War II, and being Korean War, we had ticker tape parades. I mean, if we go to YouTube these days, you see the footage of the vets coming home and getting off the train, and then everybody going down, Park Ave, and it's a big celebration to be a generational, like, my fathers and my uncles who come home from Vietnam, and it was completely different. They didn't even get a welcome home. They got a spit in the face and called names to individuals who, like somebody when Hunter said, that just come home. But then now you're getting to, since 9/11, and I don't mean this with no disrespect to anybody, but they're placed a hero badge on it. Now that every GI that is served from 9/11 that gets out today is called a hero. And there's one, and it's a reverse effect. They don't want to be called heroes. They just did their job. And I find that more and more, we have had more and more conversations about that. They just say, hey, my paperwork, combat or not combat related, I just served, thank you. Education benefits, whatever it may be, but don't stick that badge on me if it's not warranted.
Right, so we're talking about identifying
That's right.
the issues, respecting the issues, giving special considerations, but to an extent. In other words, always respect the individual and their service and their preferences, and it's more about being informed and aware than running out to offer a whole bunch of stuff that maybe isn't needed or requested, right? So it's a little bit of a